My mother once again asked me to get ready today. From her tone and the way she spoke, I immediately understood. Another boy's family was coming to see me. And honestly, this drama had been going on for the last 3 years. It's not like there was anything lacking in me. I was beautiful, well educated, and I knew how to manage all the household chores. I was also skilled in sewing and embroidery. If you looked at it from today's standards, I had all the qualities people usually look for in a daughter in law. And yet, despite all this, I still hadn't gotten married. In fact, forget marriage. Like, I hadn't even been able to get a proper proposal that lasted. My father had passed away, and it was just me and my mother. I was her only daughter. My mother was a government school teacher, and we lived a decent life. I also worked, so dowry was never an issue for us. And to be honest, out of all the proposals we received over the years, about 95% of the families liked me. At least 10 times, things were even officially agreed upon. With several families, conversations had reached very serious stages. But every time the boys' side said yes and things started moving forward, something strange would happen. Within a few days, they would suddenly back out. In fact, in 4 cases, we even had formal, grand engagement ceremonies. But just a few days later, they returned all the gifts in the ring and broke off the engagement. And to this day, not one of them ever gave us a proper reason. Because of all this, both my mother and I were deeply stressed. In our society, when a girl's engagements break again and again, people start whispering. Doubts and questions about the girl's character begin to spread, and no matter how decent and pure she actually is. But I never understood what exactly goes wrong. What changes after the engagement? Before coming to our home, these families always inquire about us thoroughly. They wouldn't even bring a proposal unless they were satisfied with everything. Then what happens afterward that makes them walk away? That I could never understand. And today, once again, someone was coming to our house with a marriage proposal. I was completely fed up with this whole routine. I had already told my mother that I didn't want to get married anymore. But of course, she was a mother. She just wanted to fulfill her duty somehow and see me settled. So I got ready without any interest and sat quietly. When the guests arrived, I met them in the traditional way. The boy had come along with his mother and sister. The moment I saw him, I had a feeling that he liked me. And judging by the look on his mother's face, it seemed like she had already guessed her son's choice. While sitting there, his mother asked my mom for the proposal, right then and there. My mother was overjoyed, but she didn't tell them about my past engagements being broken. She kept all that hidden. I tried several times to tell the boy myself, hoping that if he found out, maybe things wouldn't go any further, and I wouldn't have to go through the same heartbreak all over again. But my mother didn't agree. Within a few days, the engagement date was fixed. Still, my heart was full of fear that, just like before, everything would fall apart after a few days. To me, the whole thing felt like a bad joke. And that's exactly what happened. Just a week after the engagement, they sent all the gifts and items back, along with a polite apology. Once again, my fear turned out to be right. This time, I clearly told my mother. After this, no more proposals should come to our house. I don't want to get married. And my mother went silent at the time. Life went back to the way it had been before. Every morning, we both left together for work and returned in the evening. For me, all hope had died. I had stopped believing that I would ever get engaged or married, but my mother, her dreams hadn't died. She still believed. She still hoped that one day I would get married. It was Sunday morning when my mother told me that we had to go somewhere for some important work, and she asked me to get ready. I got dressed and went with her. I asked her many times where we were going, but she didn't give me any answer. When the car finally stopped, I looked outside and saw that we were standing in front of a shrine. I was surprised. I had never believed in shrines or spiritual healers, in my opinion. Most of them were fake. Real spiritual people never advertise themselves like this. But my mother explained that a friend of hers had told her about this particular healer. She said, "He's a very pious man. He has solutions for all problems." Then she added, "I didn't tell you earlier because I know you don't believe in these things, but today you have to come with me." Now that we were already there, I had no choice. So I quietly followed her inside. I thought the healer would give some kind of charm or amulet, but when we entered, we saw many women already sitting inside. When it was our turn, my mother told him everything about my broken engagements and failed proposals. He listened and then said, "Someone has cast a block on your daughter's marriage, and the only way to break it is through her hair. The spell was done using her hair, so give me a small lock of her hair and I will perform the ritual to break it." I didn't believe in any of it, but because my mother insisted, I quietly cut a small lock of my hair and handed it to him. She also gave him some money, and we returned home. Honestly, it all felt silly and useless to me. I went about the rest of my day as usual, and later that night I went to bed. But when I woke up, it felt like the ground slipped from under my feet. I wasn't in my own room. I wasn't even in my house. I was back at that shrine, the same place we had gone earlier. My head was spinning terribly. As I tried to sit up, I felt something next to me. When I slowly turned my neck to look, I was shocked. There was a man lying beside me, someone I didn't know at all. Panic took over me. I jumped up and ran outside. But the room that had been full of women and the healer the day before was now completely empty. There was no one there. No women, no healer, not a soul in sight. I immediately ran out, got into a rickshaw, and came straight home. As soon as I entered the house, I saw my mother, her face soaked with tears, completely broken. I rushed to hug her, but she pushed me away. Her eyes were filled with hatred for me. She looked at me and said coldly, "You should have stayed wherever you spent the night. Why have you come back? After blackening your face, you still have the nerve to walk into this house." Hearing my mother's words, I was completely shaken. I myself didn't even know what had happened to me. And yet, my own mother was doubting me. I cried and begged her with all my heart, swearing that I had no idea what happened. I told her again and again that I had gone to sleep in my room. And that's all I remembered. But she didn't believe me at all. She was convinced that I had left the house on my own, willingly. She didn't throw me out of the house, but she completely stopped speaking to me. Now we were living under the same roof like two strangers, and no matter how hard I tried, I could never convince her that whatever happened that night, I had no part in it. I didn't know how I ended up at that shrine again. I didn't know who that boy was, or why he was lying next to me. I didn't even know what the real story behind that healer was. I wanted to tell my mother everything, explain what I had seen, what I had felt, but she didn't want to hear anything. She wouldn't even listen, let alone believe me. I was going mad from overthinking, all alone. But in all that mess, there was one thing that gave me a little peace of mind. Even after spending a whole night outside the house, I knew I was still pure, untouched. But if even my own mother didn't believe me, how could I expect anyone else to? Maybe for the sake of her own honor, my mother never told anyone what had happened. That's why no one outside knew that I had spent a night away from home. But life had already become hard for me. After so many broken engagements, I was used to hearing all kinds of taunts and whispers. Every other person treated me like I was at fault, like pointing fingers at me was their duty. Before, my mother used to defend me. She was my biggest support. She would shut those people up. But now, even that support had turned against me. People started saying whatever they wanted to my face. My mother didn't say a word to stop them. The little fear people once had, that was gone too. Now even women in the neighborhood would say hurtful things to me. They would try to keep their daughters away from me, as if I was some curse, and being near me would ruin their daughters' fates too. I truly felt like I was all alone in this world. I had no father, no brother. My mother was all I had, Midessa, and even she had turned away from me. All of this, the loneliness, the silence, the judgment, it was driving me insane. I started to feel like I didn't even deserve to live. I started to think, maybe it's better if I just die. This thought had grown so strong in my mind that maybe I would have taken a terrible step if something hadn't happened next. One day, I wasn't feeling well, so I left work early and headed home. While I was in the rickshaw, we stopped at a traffic signal, and that's when I saw him. In the car right next to me was the same boy who had been lying beside me that night at the shrine. The same boy. At that moment, I was already planning to end my life before my mother came home. But seeing him changed everything. I realized this wasn't my fault. And instead of blaming myself, I should hold the real people accountable for what happened. So I gave the rickshaw driver the address of that same shrine, the place where my life had started to fall apart. The rickshaw driver was an older man. He said gently, "Beta, I know I shouldn't say anything, but you're like my daughter. Please don't go to that man. He's not what he seems. He's fake." I replied, "I know, Uncle. I'm not going there for help. I'm going to get answers." He looked at me and asked, "What can a girl like you do alone?" I told him, "After everything I've been through because of him, it's my right to confront him." So I went back to that very place where all my suffering had begun. I had covered my face with a shawl, so the man didn't recognize me. He looked at me and asked, "What's your problem?" I calmly replied, "I'm having trouble getting married." I was hoping he would say the same thing he said last time, that he needed a lock of my hair so I could prove to my mother that I had done nothing wrong. But this time, he gave me some amulets and said, "Dissolve these in water, sprinkle the water around your house every morning and evening, and also drink it. The blockage in your marriage will go away." I quietly took the amulets and sat down on the side just to observe him. I noticed that he was giving the same kind of amulets to every woman. Some he told to wear them around the neck, some he told to drink them in water. I couldn't help but laugh inside at all these women who actually believed their problems would be solved by these cheap tricks. I came home silently with the amulets and told my mother everything. And I said, "Remember the day we went to that shrine and he took a lock of my hair? That same night I ended up at that place, but today I went again, this time with my face covered, and he didn't recognize me. He gave me these amulets just like he gave everyone else. People are already saying terrible things about him." Now you tell me, Mother. If you still believe I did something wrong, then just kill me with your own hands. But please, stop being angry with me. My mother was quiet for a while, then she said, "I will investigate this myself, and if I find out that you were at fault, I'll cut ties with you forever. But if you're innocent, then I promise, whoever is behind this will be punished." I told her everything about how I woke up next to a boy I didn't know, about how I was still pure, about how I had no idea how I got to that shrine. Now, finally, my mother was with me. And for the first time, I believed that we would get to the truth. How? I didn't know yet. But I was no longer alone. My mother then asked her friend, "Who told you about this healer, the one you made me take my daughter to?" Her friend replied, "A woman in our neighborhood went to him, and her problem got solved." There wasn't any solid proof that the healer, Emil, had planned all of this, or that he had somehow made sure we came to him. But there was one thing I just couldn't understand. If it was all just a coincidence and he really had nothing to do with it, then why did he do all this to us? Why did he ask for a lock of my hair? He didn't ask any of the other women for that. He was giving everyone the same kind of amulets, telling them to wear them or dissolve them in water and drink it. So why was I the only one who had to give my hair? And was it because of that all of this happened to me? All of these questions could only be answered by the healer himself. But confronting someone like him was risky. Still, we knew we had to face him. So my mother called my uncle, Mamu, and told him everything. At first, he scolded her. "How can an educated woman like you believe in such nonsense?" But the next day, he came with us to the healer's place. When he started questioning the healer, he began to panic. He even denied recognizing us. My uncle tried hard to get the truth out of him, but the man kept saying, "I don't know who you are. You've never come to me. I've never taken hair from any woman." And honestly, he was right about one thing. No one else there had been asked for hair, only me. So now the matter had become more complicated, and because it was his shrine, we couldn't force him to speak. We left quietly that day, but we had already made up our minds we would report everything to the police. Let the law take care of it now. My uncle didn't want my name involved, so he made an anonymous call to the police and told them everything. The next day, when the police reached the healer's shrine, he had already disappeared. Apparently, there had already been previous complaints against him, which is why the police acted quickly. But still, he managed to escape. Now the police were searching for him, and we had no choice but to wait patiently. A week later, we got news that he had been caught in another city. He was arrested, and the police began their official investigation based on the complaints. By that time, my uncle had gone back to his home, so I took my mother and went to the police station myself, because now I needed answers, directly. I told the police that the anonymous call they received about that girl was me. I was scared. I was worried that the police might drag me into the whole case. But luckily, my fate was kind. The investigating officer was a good man. He was cooperative and took me personally to the healer for questioning. I stood there and asked him directly, "You recognize me now, don't you? Then tell me, why did you do this to me? And how did you do it?" And this is what he said. "I don't know much. One day, a boy came to me. He gave me 20,000 rupees and a photo of you and your mother. He told me that you both would be coming to me. And when you do, I should ask for the girl's hair. Tell them it's for a spiritual ritual, take the hair and hand it over to him." For just a small job like that, 20,000 wasn't bad. It's not like I'm a real healer anyway. This is just a business I started myself. So when you both came to me, I cut your hair, called the boy, and gave it to him. What he did with it afterward, I don't know. But the next morning, when I went back to my shrine, some people told me that they saw a boy and a girl leaving from there early in the morning. After that, when no one had actually seen the boy leave the shrine, I let the matter go for a while. The truth is, I don't live at that shrine permanently, the healer said. It's not my home. I only go there for a few hours to give people amulets and then leave. At night, that place stays completely empty. So the healer had given his full statement. But the real question remained, who was that boy? Why did he do all this? And how did he plan it? Sometimes I felt maybe it was some ex-fiancé trying to get revenge. But then again, I had never broken any engagement myself. So what revenge could it be? Nothing made sense to me. The police told us that if we filed an official complaint, FIR, they could try to track the boy down. But we were simple people. We didn't want to get involved in court cases or legal matters. If the police kept visiting our house, the neighbors would gossip. After all, we were just two women living alone. But when my mother explained all this to the officer, he said he would help us without creating any problems. He promised never to come to our home in police uniform and said he wouldn't come to our house at all. He would meet us outside and update us on everything so that no one in the neighborhood would find out. That was more than enough for us. So we agreed immediately. The officer got a sketch of the boy made by the healer right in front of us. When he showed it to me, I recognized him immediately. Yes, that was the same boy. The officer began the search based on that sketch. He kept updating us over the phone, and finally, after about 2 weeks, they found him. He called me and my mother to the police station saying, "You can now come and confront the boy directly. I can't keep him here unless there's a proper complaint filed." When we reached the station, the boy was sitting inside the office. I walked right up to him and asked, "Who are you, and why did you do this to me?" What he said was shocking. He told me that he was my first cousin, the son of my father's brother. In childhood, we had lived together, but after my father passed away, his grandmother, my aunt, had kicked my mother and me out of the house. Since then, we had completely cut ties with that side of the family. My mother never looked back, and they never tried to reconnect. A few years ago, after the grandmother died, he had started searching for us. Eventually, he found our house. But when he found out that my mother and I hated their side of the family, he kept his identity hidden. Even so, he had fallen in love with me and began watching our house secretly. Every time someone came with a marriage proposal or any engagement was being planned, he was behind ruining it all. He used to threaten those families anonymously, saying such terrifying things that they would immediately break off the engagement. He couldn't openly ruin my reputation, so he silently destroyed every proposal for the past 3 years. But he thought this game could continue forever. He wanted to marry me at any cost. When he found out that my mother had started asking around about spiritual healers and shrines, he saw an opportunity. He used one of his distant aunts to reach out to my mom's close friend and got the word passed along about that fake healer. Then he paid the healer money and gave him instructions to cut a lock of my hair. He explained, "In our family traditions, if a boy gets a lock of a girl's hair, she's considered engaged to him." So he wanted to get my hair by any means, so that even his parents couldn't object and neither could my mother. But on the same night, he saw some other people trying to break into our house.